There is a heat haze over the track at Fuji Speedway as we prepare for the first of two 15-minute qualifying sessions, and it's the 888 Ferrari that leads the lineup out. 33 cars, the biggest grid of the season so far, coming out to play. It looks as though it's a fantastic morning here at the Fuji Speedway. Grey at the start of the morning, certainly couldn't see the top of the volcano. We can't as yet, but the clouds are lifting, they're burning off, and we have a fantastic mixture of cars here. Last time out at Suzuka 3 weekends ago, we had a break in the Ferrari, in Mercedes dominance. The Group M racing team had won the first 4 races, but we had a victory for Audi from Phoenix Racing in the hands of Frankie Chen Kung Fu and Martin Rump. And then in the second of the 2 races at Suzuka, Martin Kodrich and Dennis Lind, no wonder they're winning the championship. Super consistent season with plenty of podiums. They finally took their first win in the FFF racing team Lamborghini. This weekend we have some new faces on board, a chance to get to learn this circuit for some of them, but a lot of the new faces are Japanese racers who know this circuit very, very well indeed. Local knowledge is always vital if you want to be at the sharp end of the grid. One thing they won't get to drive on this weekend is turns 11 and 12, because the track was breaking up at the end of the week, and it was decided yesterday that turns 11 and 12, the right and left swerve when the field exits turn 10, would be removed from the course for this weekend. So turn 10 will just continue straight on up to turn 13, the sharp right hand, and it goes into that final loop before the cars get onto the last corner of the lap, and then hopefully for the drivers get a really, really clean exit down the super long start finish straight. So a pair of Porsche Caymans staying in the shade here, waiting to go out. 2 15-minute qualifying sessions. Driver number 1 in each of the pairings will go out in the first session, and they will define the grid for the first of the races, the one held this afternoon here at the Fuji Speedway. And the second driver in each of the lineup will go out and set the qualifying time for tomorrow's grid for race 2. Conditions very warm and humid, certainly not as hot and humid as yesterday that really, really tested the teams and the drivers. We think it might be hot standing in the pit lane, but you get in one of these GT3 or GT4 races and heat will be redefined. Certainly for any driver who's been a bit shy of going into the gym, they will realise the error of their ways, because every bit of fitness you can have just gives you a little bit more of an advantage. 2 practice sessions yesterday. They were the unofficial practice sessions, but we had the official practice this morning, and it was the 2 Group M racing machines. 888, fastest of all in the hands of Raffaele Marciello, way under lap record time here. And the second car, Patrick Niederhauser and Nico Bastian, with Bastian driving the second leg of that stint, moved into second place, but plenty of manufacturer variety behind them. Third and fifth places this morning for the Lamborghini Huracan. The brand new Car Guy Racing Ferrari brought out, and that slotted into 4th place. But don't dismiss Porsche. Their best runner was the Craft Bamboo 991 entry. That was 7th fastest. And I actually quite fancy Nissan putting in a bit of a top performance on a track that could cause embarrassment for Toyota, because Toyota own the Fuji Speedway. They don't have representation this year in the Blancpain GT Series Asia, but if Nissan come good in the hands of the KCM GT, they might have to reappraise that for next year, because to not be able to take victory on their home ground would be very galling indeed, and more to the point, to have a rival manufacturer coming to the top of the table. But we've had a wonderful stirring of the pot, certainly the last round at Suzuka, with Audi and Lamborghini taking victory to break that run by Mercedes. Really shows that things are changing week in, week out, as Blancpain GT Series Asia continues to grow through its second series. So let me just point out, 26 of these GT3 runners, this the 177 Car Guy Racing entry, the Lamborghini Huracan, and 7 cars in GT4 will go out to play. There should be about a 10-second gap between GT4 and the faster GT3 runners. And the best car in GT4, it was the winner of the second of the 2 races at Suzuka last time out, BMW Team Studi, the number 81 BMW M4, Tsunaku Takuchu and Takayuki Kinoshita, who really appears to be the fleeter of that pairing. Strong at Suzuka, and again, very strong form here at Fuji so far this weekend. Indeed, with the sister car, Kenny Rata driving that, and Max Chen, they were 3rd fastest in GT4 this morning. But 888 and 999, they were the fastest 2 cars in official practice this morning. They are 1st and 2nd out onto the track, but it's the driver of 999 who sweeps past into the lead on the track, hoping to set that quick time. That's Nico Bastian, German racer who competed in the first 2 races of the championship at Sepang all the way back in April, hasn't been back on board since, and he's clearly trying to make up lost time. Slotting in and immediately moving ahead of Alexander Matchell, certainly in terms of natural pace. Matchell is the AM and Bastian very much the pro. You can see as they sweep down through turn 2, 3, 4. This is turn 5. In fact, sorry, it's turn around. That's turn 10. They've already got further around the lap than I expected. Going past, you can see the swerve through turns 11 and 12. They have been removed for this weekend. The track was breaking up and the potholes couldn't be fixed in time. A bit of a slide wide there, a lot of understeer into turn 14. The nose washing away the front end of the 999 Mercedes. So trying to go too fast too soon, getting heat into the tyres. Yes, it's high temperature outside, but you need to just get the life into those big black Pirellis if you're going to achieve, and you've got to achieve quickly. Only 15 minutes in this qualifying session. In fact, only about 13 of those left. Craft Bamboo Racing seemed a little bit at sea at the start of the championship, but already number 9, 11 starting to pick its way up the order. Bright, you could pick this car out, the Lamborghini 177 from Car Guy Racing. That's Koichi Yokomura, who's doing the first session, and then Daisuke Yamawaki. And it's one of the cars that's just on for this round. But Car Guy Racing traditionally have brought one Lamborghini. This weekend they've really stepped up by bringing 2 Lamborghini Huracans, and also the Ferrari that was 4th quickest this morning. So a lot of the Japanese teams taking a very serious look at this championship, not just so they can race on home ground, clearly with a view to doing the whole series in 2019 as it continues to grow. But right now, so it's going to be Nico Bastian, the first to set a flying lap, because he's leading the field around. Alexander Matchell actually slightly quicker around the opening sequence of corners, but also behind them, the 63 Lamborghini Hiroshi Hamaguchi has now set the fastest first sector of anyone. But the timesheet is going to really bob up and down. But the fact it's the 888 and 999 who were first and second fastest this morning are running first on the track. There they go past the loop that's being cut out. The fact they're going to be first to set the flying lap here suggests they could also remain at the top on this morning's speed. But it's all right now on the driver's shoulders. Still the 999 Mercedes is washing out, being pushed very hard. Bastian getting the tail out as well. He's pushing too hard. I would suggest at this point maybe his car's set up better for the long straight. Of course, here at Fuji you have this super long straight. Coming out of the final corner, again understeer as the car washes wide. In fact, Alexander Matchell looks that little bit better balanced through the final parts of the lap. But the long straight speed down here is imperative, but it has to be balanced against having the setup for the sharper corners. Who's going to set the better time? It is Bastian. He's ahead on the track, he's ahead on the timesheets. For Hamaguchi, I said he was quicker. He's gone ahead by 74 thousandths of a second. It's very close indeed. Championship leader Dennis Lin completes his fly. He's already down in 5th place though. He's 1 second off the pace. And the 991 Porsche goes to the top of the chart. So Craft Bamboo, Aidan Reid, the Australian racer, fastest time so far. On my timing sheet, it calls him driver 3. There are only 2 drivers in the car, so let's call it driver 1. That is Aidan Reid. 1 minute 39.124 seconds. Number 3 goes into 2nd place, and that is Martin Rump. So things keep on changing, but I think it's going to be the second flying lap that really will deliver the time. So fleetingly, 991 at the top of the charts. Will it remain that way around? Top in GT4 at the moment. Nobody as yet, because none of the GT4 runners have set a flying lap. In fact, no, not one of them. Waiting for Ringo Chong. He ought to be the first one around to do that. So now we have a Nissan to the top of the charts. I didn't think this might be happening. I said at the start, broadcasts, that they could come good and embarrass Toyota on their home ground. So the Nissan, one of 2 of these mighty GTR Nismo GT3s entered by KCMG. It's Eduardo Liberati, 1 minute 37.916 ahead of the Ferrari of Nick Foster. Times coming in thick and fast, but certainly the Nissan looking very good. One of the 2 KCMG Nissans, the number 19 sister car, looking down the timing charts, yet to set a really good time. Sorry, not 19, the 18 sister car. Beg your pardon. In fact, Taniguchi just bang in 5th place, so the Nissan's 1st and 5th looking very good indeed. And certainly so far in the 2018 season, they haven't really shown their form in qualifying, but when it comes to racing, they really come good. They must be fairly light on their tyres. They come good in the latter stages. So it's Liberati from Jono Lester, Kiwi racer, on board this weekend. The 27 Ferrari, sharing that with Nick Foster. That's been strong in the hands of Foster and Li Hong Yilei, but there was that little trip up where the 27 car dived into the pits when heading possibly for victory at Suzuka, and had a phantom visit to the pits, and that really cost them dear. But Jono Lester up to join Nick Foster this weekend in the red Ferrari. lights flashing away from the 33 Porsche there. That's team Porsche EBI, one of the Japanese teams shared by the Yamano brothers. Naoya running the opening stint in that. John O'Lester mentioned his name and he goes faster, clearly reacts to the pressure. There he is, up into second place. 1 minute 37.2 seconds for Edoardo Liberati in the 23 Nissan. 1 minute 38.0 for John O'Lester, so nearly 8/10 of a second. That is a fantastic lap from Liberati. John O'Lester settling in very well indeed. There we have all the GT3 runners, down to those I said going out early. We might have 999 and 888 going to the top of the charts. Wrong again, Jones. They're 19th and 20th, but they'll be using those as sighters, and I expect them to really come good later on. The 911, Porsche 911, Sandy Stuvik, that's in the pits, having a fresh set of rubber put on. Shea Davis will go back out in that. So it's Liberati from Leicester, Rump and Taniguchi. And now suddenly Dennis Lind in the 19 Lamborghini goes up into 4th place. That is the championship leading car. Finally took its first victory in 6 attempts. The second of the 2 races at Suzuka, so really not just quick but consistent, and that is exactly what you want to win titles. It looks like we could have an improvement from John O'Lester. He just went up to 2nd place, and when the red Ferrari comes around for Hub Auto Corsa, that could, well, he's 7/10, nearly 8/10 of a second down on Edoardo Liberati, but I think could secure 2nd place, or certainly make it look all the more cemented in. In GT4, it's been the story of the BMWs from BMW Team Studi. Top at the moment is the 82 car. Just look at that, he's slowed down, so it looks like the lap has been aborted. Don't forget the GT4 runners do look in their mirrors quite a lot, because they know the GT3 runners, there are 26 GT3 runners, come past them at considerable speed. Number 8 Ferrari just diving past ARN Racing, and that's Hiroaki Nagai. He's down the charts a little bit at the moment, 15th place. But 82 looking at Kenny Rata, fastest of all in GT4. We still have 6 minutes 40 seconds remaining, waiting to see if anybody can topple Edoardo Liberati. That flying time of 1 minute 37.279 seconds. A whole gaggle of cars coming around. I think John O'Lester is just in that pack, coming down the long start straight as the 911 Porsche Sandy Stuvik goes back out onto the circuit. And here comes the number 8 Ferrari. Is there going to be any change? No, it stays in 15th place overall, almost matching his previous best. No, in fact, slightly improving it, but staying in 15th. Red number 8 Ferrari. GT4 still advantage for the 82 BMW. That's Kenny Rata. It was a better lap from Hiroaki Nagai. It just took a tiny little bit of time, and suddenly he's moved up to 6th place. Running in the pack there, used a bit of a slipstream down the start-finish straight, so it's Nissan from Ferrari, that's Liberati from Leicester. Dennis Lind now up to 3rd place, chipping away there in the championship leading Lamborghini. And then Martin Rump, best of the Audis, in 4th overall. 86 and 5, a pair of Audis. Number 5, Sean Thong, running in 8th overall, and just ahead of him, just looking for the 86 car, Mitch Gilbert in 10th. 8th and 10th for the Audis. They really do need to find their form, but Audi did take their first win of the championship in the first of 2 races at Suzuka. And it was the number 3 car, the one we're looking at the moment. 4th fastest at the moment, but that was the winner of the first of 2 races at Suzuka. So it does have the speed, needs a bit of luck. And how are those Mercedes going? Not so long ago, they were 19th and 20th. Well, the 888 car, Alexander Matchell, has moved up 2 places to 18th. But the sister car, 999, Nico Bastian, now getting into the mix. Identical time with the car that lies 6th, but he set it 2nd, so Bastian is down in 7th place overall. Just under 5 minutes remaining. Let's see what that number 3 Audi can do. Martin Rump was looking very good at Suzuka. He's got a fresh set of tyres on there. Some of the other cars coming in, just adjusting the tyre pressures, so critical around here. And certainly you could see earlier in the session that the lead Mercedes, most notably Nico Bastian, probably didn't have the right pressures in the tyre. Front knows the car moving around. This is Dennis Lind, 3rd fastest at the moment, but he's nearly a second down, 0.849 of a second down on Edoardo Liberati. Liberati also in the pit, so maybe not enough time left to go back out again and set a time. But they are sitting 1st and 3rd. But for Liberati, now just 6/10 of a second clear. That's looking good enough, I would suggest, to take pole for the first of the 2 races. That's the one held this afternoon. Qualifying session number 2 will set the times for tomorrow's race. But clearly with Dennis Lint hopping out, he thinks he's done enough. He's happy with third place on the grid. Would prefer first, but you take what you can. Doesn't want to take too much out of the car. Looking for movers. Sean Thong certainly picking up the pace in the number 5 Audi from Absolute Racing. The 177 Lamborghini, that is, has only got 2 runners in GT4 behind him. That's Okumura at the moment. And how far off the ultimate pace is he? Well, everyone's off the ultimate pace with that 6/10 of a second advantage. He's 5 seconds down. Local knowledge. But when you come up against the best of the hot shoes coming to race in Asia and from Asia, you know, it's a hard act to play. Yeah, looking rather tail happy. In fact, this is probably his best lap. He should find a little bit of time, but he's only likely to move up about 1 position ahead of the 390 Lamborghini from Success Racing. Oh dear, he's run off the circuit, so unfortunately that's blown that for the 177 car. I think he had an eye on his mirror. There's 2 Absolute Racing Audis coming up to challenge. Unfortunate exit at the final corner of the circuit. So the lap was ruined as it was set to be improved upon. Number 7 Audi, Andrew Kim at the wheel. That's down the charts as well. That's just improved there, but only up to 14th place overall. 1.7 seconds down on the ultimate pace. GT4 for so long. The BMW M4 of 82 was at the top of the charts, moved down to second as teammate Tsunaka Jukuchu takes to the front. Has been the faster one of those cars all season long. So it's BMW from BMW in GT4. Number 11, Porsche Cayman of TTR Team Sard. Brian Lee is third in class. Then Richard Wee in the Clearwater Racing McLaren, a car that did really well here last year. In fact, Richard Wee won both races in GT4 here 12 months ago on the series' first visit to Fuji. Where is the change coming from? Hiroshi Hamaguchi up to 6th place in his FFF Racing Lamborghini. He's looking set to improve upon that, maybe able to pick up 1, even 2 positions on the grid, which will be very well done indeed. Number 5 Audi, Sean Thong, looking at it now. Red, white and black, sitting in 9th place overall. He set his best first sector. Wait to see how much he can continue through the second sector. He doesn't improve in that, but may just edge his way forward, pushing right to the edge of the circuit and almost beyond. Wow, clouting the curve. Certainly no lack of effort from Sean Thong. Right towards the end of the lap. Again, you can see the climb up through turns 13, 14 and 15, and then you get the final corner that really seems to come back on the drivers. First time they're there, bit of almost negative camber at the top. The cars drop away to the exit, out over the curve, but still kept 2 wheels within the white lines. That's fine. And certainly there are track warning limits. Turn 15, the final corner of the lap, and that's to 999 on my screen, and the driver of that is Nico Bastian. He's down in 7th place, but he's still ahead of the number 5 Audi. No, he doesn't, because Sean Thong does improve on that lap, moves up to 6th place overall. So all that effort running slightly wide was well balanced indeed. Sean Thong now 1.1 seconds down on pole position, just a blink of an eye down on Taniguchi's Nissan. And here's the 81 BMW. Looks as though pole position, the GT4 class is in the bag. He's 0.8 of a second. That's a big amount of time ahead of his teammates. And the 2 cars, you can see them together, the 81 and 82 BMW Team Studi. BMWs, as the checkered flag is prepared to be flown, have done their bit. 1st and 2nd in class. That's exactly what the doctor ordered. Alexander Matschel pressing on in the 888 Mercedes, and he needs to, because the checkered flag will be there to greet him, and he's down at the moment in 18th place. Does look as though he should improve his best lap time. He's 2.2 seconds down on the ultimate pace, and he's not looking to improve it because he's diving into pit entry. Yes, he's not just taking a sneaky line, so decided to abort that final lap. Where will the changes come from? We've suddenly had Standy Stuvik right at the end in the 911 Porsche moving up into 4th place. So it's Nissan from Ferrari, from Lamborghini, from Porsche and Audi. 5 makes in the top 5 positions. That's how competitive and well balanced the Blancpain GT Series Asia is. Any other late changes? Sean Thong pushed back from 6th to 7th by that flying final lap there from Sandy Stuvik. And I think any other changes might come a little bit further down the chart. No, they weren't. In fact, quite a lot of the drivers rather opting to dive into the pits. Here's Martin Rump. He had that late charge, moved up to 5th place. That became So moved up to 4th, dropped down to 5th with that great run at the end from Sandy Stuvik. So though they're only 15-minute sessions, the times keep on changing. Any other late changes? Certainly looking for the Ferrari that went so well this morning from Car Guy Racing, brought their 458 Italia, and that went really well. But that was in the hands of Naoki Yokomitsu. He's sharing that with Zhu Vai, and Zhu down in 19th place overall. So that's the thing with Pro-Am pairings. You often get the Pro delivering great things in the car, but it has to be balanced against the performance of the AM racer, because of course in the 1 hour races each of those drivers get a run. Here is the Honda NSX. We saw it in the opening round at Sepang, the 2 races down at the Malaysian circuit, and great to have the Honda NSX back on board this weekend. Great to have the variety of manufacturers, and run by Philippe Ma, ending up in fact down penultimate position in the GT3 class. So people looking on, the day continues to improve. Short gap between the 2 qualifying sessions, enough chance some of the teams you could see came in early to give more time to prepare their second driver for their stint out to define the grid for tomorrow's races. Track conditions very, very good indeed. And there is the order at the end. So advantage and pole position for KCMG, with Edoardo Liberati clear by 0.6 of a second. That is a monstrously good lap, and he just did one quick flyer. That was enough. John O'Lester on his debut in the championship, second fastest for the Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari team, and Dennis Lind, championship leader, the number 19 Lamborghini, tucked in behind in 3rd. That's a job very well done, and that late charge from Sandy Stuvik shows that it wasn't a flash in the pan for the Craft Bamboo Racing Porsche team, 4th fastest for them. Also a good run there from Martin Rump, powered by that victory at Suzuka, moving his Audi for Absolute Racing up to 5th overall. Top car in the GT4 class, in 27th position overall. It's the 2 BMWs from BMW Team Studio, Sunako Jukuchu and Ken Urata. You'll see them when we get to the next timing page. And they finish clear of the number 11 TTR Team Sard Porsche. Here we go, we'll just flip to the second page of the grid, and there, 27th and 28th overall, top and second in the GT4 class. The 81 and 82 BMW M4s, 0.8 of a second between them, so that's a massively good lap from Sunako Jukuchu. And then in behind, the best of the rest was Brian Lee in his Porsche Cayman. So, on a morning that started grey, the sun came good and has come out. Let's take a look back at the highlights of the first of the 2 qualifying sessions. Heat starting to rise, humidity still there, and the Group M racing team sent their Mercedes out early on, and then right behind FFF Racing Team, one of their 2 Lamborghini Huracans coming out to play. New this weekend, the Car Guy Racing Ferrari 458 Italia, that's 117, tucked in behind, trying to find track space, and already pushing past on the outside, championship leader Dennis Lind. All the drivers knowing they only had 15 minutes from the start of qualifying to the end to warm their tyres up, get them performing up to speed, and deliver the lap that would define their grid position for the first of the 2 races here. Rounds 7 and 8. The second Blancpain GT Series Asia, pushing on too hard. Perhaps it could be early on, the 999 Mercedes. Nico Bastian very keen to make his presence felt. Very quick in practice this morning, but in fact was struggling to get the handling for his AMG Mercedes GT3. But a car that came good very early on. Edoardo Liberati, he was about half a lap down on those Mercedes, but as soon as his lap time started to register, it was clear the 23 Nismo GTR was going to be setting quick times. Liberati went to the top of the charts at one point, sitting 0.9 of a second clear. By the end, he was still at the top of the charts, but the gap had come down to 7 seconds because the 27 Ferrari, John Lester, making his presence felt, really started to wind in some quick times. 0.6 of a second down in second place at the end. But the 911 Porsche coming good, showed flashes of speed at Suzuka, ended up with a really late lap, tucking into 4th place overall behind Dennis Lind. But again, you can see the car came in, the tyres were changed, and that is how the quick time was delivered. ARN Racing Ferrari, the bright red one with the yellow flashes, was in the mix as well. But really, it was the pace of Edoardo Liberati that was jaw-dropping. 5th fastest by the end of the session was a car that broke its duck, taking its victory at Suzuka. The number 3 Absolute Racing Audi getting in at the sharp end. Not quite at the sharp end was one of the 2 Car Guy Racing Lamborghini Huracans. the best lap for them was ruined, unfortunately, with that runoff at the final corner of this 15-corner lap. The 888 Mercedes really put on a charge, but just couldn't challenge the front runners, and eventually decided to come in and park it up, gather the team's thoughts, and go out for qualifying session number 2. But that first session belonged to one driver alone, the driver of the KCMG Nissan, Eduardo Liberati, with a masterclass. It's quick fire for Blancpain GT Series Asia. We've had qualifying session number 1. That is done, dusted, completed. And the cars staying in the shade as best they can, because qualifying session number 2 will be upon us very soon indeed. 11:50 it shall be. So 3.5 minutes remaining. You can see the cars already in formation at pit exit. Anxious to get out, get those tyres back up to heat. Don't forget, it's not the same drivers. The drivers in session number 2 are the drivers listed as the second driver in their lineup. They will be setting the qualifying times for the grid for race 2. Race 1, we now know the grid for that after qualifying session number 1. And certainly in the GT4 class, you have to look at BMW Team Studi. They took their first win in the second of the races at Suzuka 3 weekends ago. They come here in fine form. They were so excited, deliriously happy after their second race at Suzuka, and their cars were first and second in qualifying session number 1. But as I said, we've rotated the drivers. We'll have to see if their teammates can respond. The 81 car being handed from Takayuki Kinoshita to, sorry, the other way around, Tsunaka Jukuchu to Takayuki Kinoshita. Kenny Rata will hand over to Max Chen. So as always, we ask the teams have to nominate their drivers. I've noticed a few drivers have reversed their drivers 1 and drivers 2, just to keep the commentators and the timing officials on their toes. Very hot here at Suzuka, but more to the point, very humid. But there is a bit of a breeze today, which is very welcome indeed. Hopefully it will blow the clouds away from above the main grandstand, and then we may get sighting of the top of Mount Fuji, something that happens apparently only about 100 days a year. Certainly beautiful, iconic volcanic peak. You see the drivers opening their doors to waft a little bit of breeze into the cockpits. You can see the heat haze. That gives a lie to how hot it is today. Expected to go to 31, originally predicted 33 degrees. Some even said 36 today. I think everybody involved is glad indeed it's not hitting those lofty heights. 15 turns of the Fuji Speedway, or one should probably say 13 turns, because the little loop between after turn 10, where turn 11 and turn 12 takes the track right and left. Unfortunately, there were some blemishes in the circuit, or in other words, potholes. They can't be fixed. So the decision has been taken out of turn 10. The drivers will carry straight on uphill, bypassing turns 11 and 12, meaning they'll arrive at greater speed to turn 13, which will make that a little bit trickier, that sharp right-hander. Then the long, ever-tightening turn 14 before the drivers come out into that final corner, the uphill turn 15 that is broad on entry and narrow on exit, and also has a negative camber at the top. So drivers go out over the lip when they get to the top of the rise, but they don't want to go too far. They get pinged if they go out over the curbing. Certainly some drivers have been warned so far, but also you need to get the power down on the exit, because the track then leads on to the super long main straight down to turn 1, another corner that drops away on its exit. But maximum speed will only be achieved down. As you can see the crown on the start-finish straight, you can see the heat haze just under the one red light on the starting gantry. The track then drops down towards turn 1, and in fact in the old days, in the 1960s, the track continued running beyond turn 1 and went into a fantastic bank curve cut right into the side of the mountain, and the grandstand seating above that now overgrown, but the spectators could sit there. And don't forget, this track was called the Fuji Speedway. It was modelled on the speedways from the States, but I can't think of any in the States where they're cut straight into a mountainside. And any visit to the Fuji Speedway you have, if you've got a soul, to go down and look at the old banking. And I challenge you to try and walk up it without a pair of grippy shoes. It is very steep indeed. So about a third of the field forming the line, and already the lights have gone green, and this 15-minute qualifying session, you can see the clock ticking away already as a gaggle of the Absolute Racing Audis make their way out, followed by both of the Craft Bamboo Racing Porsches. So a team that's coming on strong, and we will see how their drivers can deliver in this second session. So the Craft Bamboo cars driven in the first session by Shay Davis and Aidan Reed, now by Sandy Stuvik and Daryl O'Young. But as the cars go onto the circuit, it's the Absolute Racing Audis. Josh Burden, Adelie Fong and the number 3 car, Frankie Cheng Kung Fu, that go out onto the track. Is that overtaking in the pit lane? They've gone past the white line at pit exit, so it looks as though Nick Foster, who's very keen to get past the number 18 Nissan, he's past the number 23 Nissan, so there's nothing untoward in all that passing. Wonderful shot out of turn 1. You can see how the track really drops away, and if it looks steep when you see it on television, it really is steep. And I'm always a fan of any circuit that has a lot of gradient change. It just adds to how dynamic the cars may look. Number 8 Ferrari. Now this really is a gaggle of cars. As you can see, the clock has already lost 1.5 minutes of this 15-minute qualifying session, and with the GT3 and GT4 runners running together with up to 10 seconds in difference of their lap speed, it's up to the GT3 runners to get around those GT4 cars and not get blocked up. There's the Clearwater Racing McLaren, the only McLaren in the field. This was a team that won here in 2017, so they have high hopes again, but certainly it seems the BMW M4s have taken the standard forward. Here is one of those M4s, really moved it forward in 2018. So the first flying lap looks as though Josh Burden will be the first over the start finish line, bursting through the heat haze in the number 37 Audi. Down into turn 1, then you can see the drop down to turn 2. Turn 3, the track levels out from this point, gets to turn 4, over the curbing on the outside on the driver's right. That's how you need to do it, but it's this wonderful sweep. 4 feeds into 5. Here we are at turn 5, turn 6, and it keeps on going. There is a series of closely interconnected corners. So tail kicked out, but don't forget Burden has form. He took pole for the second of the 2 races, the one that he could qualify for at the opening round at Sepang, and the young Australian continues to push on. Certainly he just doesn't have to worry about being blocked by any other drivers. That's why Absolute Racing wanted its cars to be first, second and third out of pit exit, and certainly Josh Burden is a driver that does have this form, as I mentioned, past the little cutout at turns 11 and 12, now up to turn 13. And staying clear of the curb on the right hand side, running a little bit deep over the curb out of 13 into 14, but has this wonderful sweep. There's the part of 14. Up to 15, going as far left as the drivers possibly can, and then swinging in through this uphill entry to turn 15. Keeps it contained, kicks the tail out a little bit, could have pushed a little further but didn't want to get it wrong. Maybe he feels this is a flying lap, this is his banker flying lap, and he's going to build on it next time. But what he has ahead of him is a run down the start finish straight, no other cars in front of him, so this is a really, really good job for Josh Burden. Really good chance for him to try and take another pole position. As you can see, those Group M Racing Mercedes are far enough ahead of him not to interrupt his lap. 1 minute 38.181 seconds. So he's 3/4 of a second faster than the number 3 sister car. The number 7 car we're looking at there, Adelie Fong, only 4th fastest. Darrell Young's Porsche is in between them. In fact, the sister car, Shay Davis from Craft Bamboo Racing, has gone into 2nd place. So the times are changing very fast indeed. So there's 2 Absolute Racing Audis, number 7 and 3. Number 7 down is 7th, number 3 dropped to 3rd place overall. 991 Porsche, that's 4th fastest. Where are the Lamborghinis? Looking to see if any of those are slotting in. Florian Strauss has just gone into 2nd place behind Josh Burden. He's in the number 23 KCMG Nissan. Looking to see where the championship leading car, number 19, is. At the moment, Martin Kodrich, well, he's down outside the top 10, 11th position. That's become 12th. He's one of the first ones through, but that car, the 19 car, well, maybe he feels it's going to be set better next time around. Now this, with the number 27 Ferrari in the pit lane, is why Nick Foster was pushing on so hard so soon. He's a driver who really takes a serious tilt at grabbing pole position for the Hub Auto Corsa. He wanted to go out, just get a feel, come back in and put on a fresh set of rubber to see if he can challenge for pole. And certainly very, very strong indeed. He took pole position at Suzuka in qualifying number 2. He's looking to do the same here. A number of other drivers have gone in to change their tyres. They did the outlap, wanted to come in, go out. The target now, 1 minute 37.293. Davide Rigon on board for the first time in the yellow. It's the sister Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari. Nick Foster we saw in the pits, but Davide Rigon, he's put down a marker, best part of a second, 0.887 of a second clear. In GT4, fastest at the moment is Gilles Vanelay in the number 72. Team iRace.win in his Mercedes, sharing that with Ringo Chong. He's fastest now. Here comes the shot for Nick Foster. 9.5 minutes remaining. The target has been set, not by anybody, by his teammate. That's a driver you've got to beat, Davide Rigon. If you can beat him, a works Ferrari driver for a long time now. Well, there's the target, and that really is a very fine target indeed. And it was a case of waiting for the second flying lap from Martin Kodric. He was down, falling 12th, 13th, 14th, bang, up into second place. Over half a second down, though. So it's the 28 Ferrari from the 19 Lamborghini, and Shea Davis going particularly well, the 911 Porsche in. Now here's a car that could challenge Florian Strauss. He was the top of the charts. He's come in for a tyre change. He's fallen to 6th place overall. There's the 19 Lamborghini Martin Kodric up in second place, but he's got traffic now. 33 cars, the more the merrier, but it makes it less merry in qualifying. You can be interrupted, and the best efforts of the GT4 cars still puts them in the way of some of the faster challenges on that little run, the extended run from turns 10 to 13. Darrell O'Young 9th at the moment, but here is the championship leader. Kodric suddenly back down. He was second, blink of an eye, he's down to 4th place because Raffaele Marciello has moved up to second in the 888 Mercedes. And the ARN Racing entry, Kota Sasaki, goes up into 3rd, his debut in this year's championship. And Sasaki proving his local knowledge is very handy indeed. So it's Ferrari from Mercedes, from Ferrari, from Lamborghini, from Porsche, from Audi. And Kei Cozzolino coming strong. He knows this circuit. He was a winner last year. His Lamborghini up into 7th place for Car Guy Racing. 1.5 seconds down though on Davide Rigon. That is an amazingly good lap. But Marciello, that 888 Mercedes, 0.069 of a second down. Looks like this lap could be an improvement from Davide Rigon. Look out for that yellow Ferrari, number 28. He's just improved in the middle section. The lap split into 3 sectors, and in that middle sector, very, very strong from Davide Rigon. Marciello continues to press on. Here he is in the 888 Group M Racing Team. Mercedes second fastest, under 1/10 of a second down on provisional pole. Davide Rigon having set that really good middle sector time. There's still 7 minutes remaining, but he's dived into the pits, so maybe this is the point that he goes for a tyre pressure change. What of Nick Foster in the system? There is the yellow Ferrari in the pits, the sister car we saw coming out. Nick Foster, he's down in 30th position. There are 33 cars out there trying to set times, still waiting for a flying lap from Nick Foster. We saw his out lap, he came into the pits. And he just vaulted up the time charts. Got to see where he's moved to. At the moment, Nick Foster is, in fact, he's slipped down to outside the top 30. So everybody else has set a flying lap. Nick Foster still hasn't in the red Ferrari. Time aplenty to do so. We're suddenly getting a challenge, suddenly from nowhere. Fastest first sector of anyone. 1:17. It's the Car Guy Racing Ferrari, the 458 Italia. Naoki Yokomitsu, he's down in 11th place, but he has the potential to move to the top, so I think this is far from finished, despite that brilliant lap from Davide Rigon, the fantastic lap to put Raffaele Marciello into second place, and suddenly the pressure's coming on. Nissan on the move, the number 18 car, Alexander Imperatori, up into 3rd place overall. He moves ahead of Sasaki's Ferrari. Here comes the yellow Ferrari. You can see he's just on an out lap. You can just see the movement of the car is much less. It's about building the heat in carefully. But Davide Rigon races for years in the World Endurance Championship, and he knows what to do with Ferraris. Imperatori could be about to move top. He's set the fastest middle sector of anybody. Then Marciello improves and goes even faster in the middle sector in his Ferrari. Marco Napelli suddenly in the 63 Lamborghini moves up into 4th on the charts. Sit still and you're going to drop down the order. That's what Sasaki has found out. The number 8 Ferrari was 3rd. There it is, lights ablaze, coming down the start-finish straight. He falls back with no improvement on that lap, and that's moved him back into 5th place overall. GT4 still the domain of BMW Team Studi. That's number 81, fastest of all for Kinoshita. Takayuki Kinoshita. Here's Clearwater Racing. I thought that was anger, but it appears to be happiness there. But no, is it actually? Because in fact that car is not featuring on the track at the moment. No, they're happy faces. Often quite hard to tell when you can't really see a driver's eyes. And I said Imperatori was going better. He has just moved to the top of the charts, won at 36.672, so just under 1/10 of a second fastest Imperatori's got a couple of big banners up in the grandstands opposite his pit garage, and they've clearly encouraged the Swiss racer because he's fastest of all for KCMG in one of their two Nissans, and the sister car, Florian Strauss, was up at the sharp end. He's fallen back to 13th position. 14th position. Things keep on changing, but the big change is Imperatori to the top ahead of this driver, Davide Rigon, who's now starting to build up to speed. May not be this lap, I think it'll be the next time around he puts in his gambit to try and retake pole position, but there's time to do that. So it's Imperatori top in the number 18 Nissan. Now Davide Rigon was first, down into second in the 28 Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari. There is the driver setting the fastest laps. He's just set his fastest first sector, not so good in the second sector. How good's his final sector? Will he beat his 1 minute 36.6 second lap? Presses on, doesn't dive into the pits, going down the start, finish straight over the crest, which is under the starting canopy, then drop down towards turn 1. No, 1 minute 37.1. A lot of the other drivers would think that was very good indeed. Nick Foster's just done that time to move him from nowhere up into 4th place. So for Hub Auto Corsa, their Ferraris in 2nd and 4th, looking very good indeed. The 63 Lamborghini down off its jacks. The clock is ticking away, just over 3 minutes remaining. Should be enough time for an outlap and then a final flyer. And for Marco Mappelli, who's been very, very good, increasingly good as that team comes strong with both of its Lamborghini Huracans, may just have enough time to make another bid. He's down in 5th place at the moment. Number 8 Ferrari, Kota Sasaki, on board for the first time this weekend and showing the sort of pace that has seen him a national champion in the GT300 class of the super competitive National GT Championship, the Super GT Series. Actually calling it national is to underplay it. It's very much an international GT series, and what it does give drivers is a lot of track time, and if you can use the experience gained from that to good advantage, then it really should be to the team's benefit. Kota Sasaki has been very strong. He's 6th fastest at the moment, bound to improve on that. He set his fastest first sector, his fastest second sector. Car he might topple is Marco Mappelli in the 63 Lamborghini, or can he do better than that? Just waiting for the time to chime in. And the end of his lap wasn't good at all, so no improvement. How galling for him. Bit of traffic. Unfortunately, he dropped some way off his best. In fact, I'm underplaying it. He only fell a couple of hundredths off his best. It was just not enough, but I could see his best time wasn't anywhere near being matched in the final sector. In many ways, the critical sector, you've got to have a car super well balanced for the final sector. The climb up through turn 10, bypassing turns 11 and 12, which we're not using this weekend, and up through the final corners, but that's where grip is everything, and it's often not found. I said wait and see what Davide Rigon could do. Second lap out of the pits would be the key one, where he's really winding up, and he set his best middle sector of all. He's 2nd fastest at the moment. 911 Porsche had featured up the front end, and for Shea Davis, here he is going through turn 14. He's dropped to 12th place, but with quite a lot of his rivals parked in the pits ahead of him. New improvement did come in from Davide Rigon. He built on through the lap. His final sector was fastest of all, but he's gained a few thousandths of a second, but still stays behind Alexander Imperatori. Imperatori is in the pits. He cannot fight back. So there's one more chance for Davide Rigon. He's down by 0.076 of a second. Oh, here comes Rigon. His first sector in the yellow Ferrari, fastest of anyone. There's the sister car that's come into the pits. That's 4th fastest. Its session is run, but Rigon could yet put Hub Auto Corsa onto pole position for race 2 for the Sunday race here at Fuji Speedway. Checkered flag about to be waved, but he set the fastest first sector of anybody. His fastest middle sector. He's got the final sector to do, the uphill climb from turn 10 up to turn 15. And it does look as though Alexander Imperatori's pole position is about to be taken away from him. Looking on the start-finish straight, there is the checkered flag being waved. The 15 minutes have come to an end, but the Hub Auto Ferrari, you can see it in the background, the yellow car jinking out from its position. Will it be taking pole position? There's the 911 Porsche that has just broken into top 10, but here is the yellow Ferrari. And Davide Rigon pressing on to see if he can go to the top of the charts. He needs to beat 1 minute 36.672 seconds. His best so far, 1 minute 36.7. Surely he's going to go top, and he doesn't. He gets a 36.696, so he got to within 23 thousandths. So his final sector was not his best, and it cost him dearly. So great straight line speed, clearly, but through the twists on the climb, he's ended up second overall, just when it looked as though he had it in the bag. So Imperatori and the KCMG Nissan can celebrate with that fantastic lap early in the session. Davide Rigon goes into second place. Will there be any late improvements? Raffaele Marciello putting his Mercedes in third. Doesn't look as though anybody else has got time to topple it all. And the driver in fourth place, Marco Mappelli, he is under investigation for crossing the pit line. There's a pit lane demarcation line, so he may have some explanations to do. He may yet get his time taken away from him, but he is fourth fastest. And the championship leading car, number 19, the sister car from FFF Racing Team, Martin Kodric, only 9th. Top in GT4, you'd expect it on current form to be one of the Team BMW, Team Studi BMWs, and you're spot on, because Takayuki Kinoshita, fastest of all, just saw him in vision there, crossing the finish line. In fact, very comfortably clear, just under half a second clear of Gilles Vannelet in the 72 Team iRace.win. This car, this Mercedes, that's getting better and better in the GT4 class. Second in class, and third was Max Chen in the second of the two BMW Team Studi BMW M4s. So another good strong session from BMW Team Studi. But for Alexander Imperatori, sitting in the pit garage, must have been looking at the timing screens and the monitors to see how Davide Rigon was getting on with his late charge. And around the final lap, with Imperatori parked in the pit garage, nothing he could do. It looked as though his best lap was about to be taken from, not his best lap, taken from him, but bettered by Davide Rigon. But a slow final sector meant that Davide Rigon missed out by 23 1/1000ths of a second. That's about as close as you can possibly have in motor racing. So advantage KCMG and then Nissan. One of their two Nissans. The sister car also pretty well placed. In fact, Florian Strauss, his final lap brought him up from 12th to 6th, so came good at the end. But there is the pole starting car for tomorrow's race, the number 18 KCMG Nissan Nismo. Sun continuing to burn the clouds away, getting hotter and hotter in the pit lane as the morning shadow from the pit buildings is washed away as the sun climbs higher in the sky over the Fuji Speedway. But certainly for the KCMG team, it seems the sun is shining on top of them. But for BMW Team Studi, top in GT4 in both of the sessions. The 81 car looking very, very strong indeed. Takayuki Kinoshita, number 81, top in the class by just under half a second, 0.462 of a second from Gilles Vannelet in the 72 team. There's the KCMG team, brushing of the hair from Alexander Imperatori, smile at the cameras, and certainly they can be very happy indeed. Florian Strauss on the right of the shot came good, suddenly vaulted from outside the top 10 up to 6th at the end. So that was a quick fire qualifying session, as it would be in just 15 minutes. Let's take a look at the highlights. It was a case of rushing out onto the circuit, getting a feel for how much grip there was to play. Absolute Racing sent their 3 Audis out in formation at the front of the pack. They would have the advantage of clear track for their first flying laps and look to see what they could do with nobody in their way, with Josh Burden leading the way around. And with 33 cars on the track as they got their heat into the tyres, it was about making space. 26 runners in GT3 and 7 cars in GT4, our biggest field of the season so far. Nick Foster in the red Ferrari, number 27. They're trying to thread his way past the KCMG Nissans because he knew he was going out to get a sighter lap. He wasn't going to stay out for a flying lap. He was going to come in, change his tyres, put some new rubber on and then go for it, but he wanted that track space. So Josh Burden set the initial pace, but soon his time was to tumble because eventually he would end up in 11th place overall. A lot of the drivers deciding to do a few outlaps and then come in, get some new boots on and then go out and play in the second half of the session. And certainly some of the drivers were making their flying lap as the checkered flag was coming out. And for the Mercedes, it was a slow start in qualifying session number 1, but Raffaele Marciello in the 888 Mercedes was really starting to come good. Here is Nick Foster after that exploratory lap. There a new set of Pirellis. You can see the stickers on the tyres there, those magnificent slicks. That was his tactic, and it was going to have a real shot at taking pole position. So we knew in the final few minutes it was going to be very busy indeed. And the sister car from Hub Auto Corsa with Davide Rigon, works Ferrari driver, normally competes in the World Endurance Championship. He's on board this weekend and he put in a really serious bid. He used all of the 15 minutes and his flying lap was greeted by the checker, missed out on pole position by 23 1/1000ths of a second. In GT4 class, the 81 BMW Takayuki Kinoshita kept out of the way of the quicker GT3 cars, but was super consistent, would end up on pole for GT4 by just under half a second. Not bad when you have to keep out of the way of the top runners, but it was Alexander Imperatori who put in a time that the others had to take a tilt at. Yes, there was a serious tilt by Davide Rigon, but eventually 23 thousandths per second in hand was all that was required to take pole position, the first of the year for the KTMG team. There is the checkered flag. In the background is the yellow Ferrari of Davide Rigon. But his final challenge wasn't quite enough, and that is why KCMG had the smiles on their faces at the end of qualifying 2. All